Uh-oh, we got glitchy for a second, but we're here.
We are live. Hello, everybody. This is Royce Eddings, Royce in the house, and my esteemed colleagues and hosts here, Lou Mars and Scott Harris. And we have a really interesting topic for you tonight. We're going to be talking about backmasking, and that's whereby an album gets ran backwards, and there's hidden messages in the albums. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding it. There's been some lawsuits. I know there was a Judas Priest as well as an Ozzy Osbourne lawsuit, and we can get into all the details of that kind of stuff in a while too. But first of all, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves.
I got a slight delay. Uh-oh.
Okay.
I'm back. Did you lose us for a sec?
Who invented backmasking? You might think it's some death metal bands or something like that, but it's a band that's been around for like 5 decades. The Beatles invented backmasking. The Beatles. In 1965, they were experimenting with it on Rubber Soul. But in '66, when Revolver came out, one night while John Lennon was smoking pot, he mistakenly played the tapes for the song Rain in reverse and liked the sound, so he began recording messages in Revolver that could only be deciphered when the record was played backwards. And that was, as far as I know, the first time there was ever some backmasking, and that was the Beatles. The Beatles were the first ones to do this. Let's see. Let me flip up here to the chat, see if we got some people joining us. Hi, Kate. Hi, Daddy Boggs. How you guys doing? So, Lou, have you got an early backmasking story for us?
Oh gosh, I got a lot of them.
Okay, well, I don't want this to be like real structured. I just want it to be kind of free flowing.
Okay.
Somebody wants to tell a story, just jump right in there and go for it. We'll just keep going around and around.
Well, my first backmasking experience was Led Zeppelin, and although I knew about the White Album with the Beatles, I didn't know they were the first, because I knew they were experimenting with Sgt. Pepper doing the cuts forward and backward. That was George Martin doing that in Strawberry Fields, for example. He was going forward and backward with the carousel. Am I cutting out?
No, you're fine here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so but to my point of the story, right in the heart of the late 70s, around 77 and 78, I heard the first chatter. I was in the Philippines in 73, but when I came back over as a 10-year-old, I heard about Led Zeppelin having the backmasking going on Stairway to Heaven. And he was being accused, Robert Plant specifically, of saying certain words behind a certain part of that song. And he denied it.
Okay.
And, so that was the first time I heard about it. It would be 10 years later when I owned a recording studio in the 80s in Tucson, Arizona, where I first had equipment I could play it backwards and actually hear what was denied. And I did hear something unusual. And what made it even more strange was I also played it off the live Song Remains the Same album. And it's also there.
Oh, okay.
That really makes it interesting, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because that means it had to be intentionally added after the fact.
Well, that's really the Zeppelin story is very, very interesting. My wife came across one that she told me about, where this guy played Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven backwards. That they were saying there were some satanic messages or whatever. He played it backwards to a couple of people, and they listened to it. And he got done. He goes, "Well, what did you hear?" And they went, "Well, just gibberish, So he told them what was supposed to be there. He played it again, then they could hear it. So, is he planting the seed, to help them to hear it? Okay, I'm sorry. I got to do this. I just bought this magazine. I couldn't resist it. It was Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stone magazine, Led Zeppelin, Inside Their Music and Legend. And, of course, I opened it up 20 minutes before the show, and I see this story about if you play Stairway to Heaven. Let me see. I got to get in front of the camera. If you play Stairway to Heaven backwards, or in reverse, you hear satanic messages. It's a very short article, and I haven't even read it yet. So I might go ahead and just read it out loud, because I want to see if it supports, yes, you hear satanic messages, or no, you really don't. because I've heard a couple of different versions so far. And what this says is, yeah, well, I didn't get a chance to print this and enlarge it, so now I'm going to have to put some glasses on, folks. Sorry for the delay. Okay. So I think this is going to clear up something here. It says, okay, televangelist Paul Crouch brought this allegation into the mainstream in 1982. I don't know if you heard about that, but there's a lot about religion, coming out, being involved in these lawsuits and stuff like that. In 1982, claiming that when played backward, the Bustle in Your Hedgerow segment of Zeppelin's signature tune says this: "Here's to my sweet Satan, the one whose little path would make me sad, whose power is Satan. He will give those with him." Ooh. 666. There was a little tool shed where he made us suffer, said Satan. Okay, now it says the truth. Now it says the truth. The part of the stairway does sound similar to Crouch's interpretation when played backward, but it's just a bizarre coincidence. Who on earth would have ever thought of doing that? Robert Plant said of the backward Satanism charges. You've got to have a lot of time on your hands to even consider that people would do that. Oh, so that's what Robert Plant said. So I think you've actually heard it though, right, Lou?
Yeah, I heard it. I didn't hear specifically what you just read, but I did hear part of that. Okay. I heard it. The part where I heard it two ways. First, I literally, to prove it in front, we had like a bet going. I was in a band house. I've always lived in band houses. So we had this big argument discussion between band members that, no, it isn't. The first thing is when you write the lyrics out, there's no way the lyrics in reverse would read in such a manner. There's just no way. So that doesn't exist. There's no way. So that's not an accident, first off, in my opinion. Second, you have to play it at a slightly different speed backwards. That's what we found out was key. So we literally took our finger and we spun the record backward. Now, it was so different that we thought that maybe it was even on a different track. Remember, we're on grooves back then. We thought maybe it was jumping a track because it was so different. But I was able to emulate it on Tascam. Later on came out with these 8-track cassette players, which were huge for us musicians. We could finally record at home for the first time. You could take a cassette and turn it over, but play it forward or backward. So you could take Stairway and you could play it backward and control the speed. You could skew the speed. You could hear it there. So anyways, here's what it said. For me, it was behind, there are still 2 roads that you can go by. And when he says choose by, which is even more important, because if that's behind that, what it said behind that was, here's to my sweet Satan, 666. It was clear as a bell. You got to get the right speed, and then it just comes out. And the weirdest part that gives you, what gives you chills, it's Robert Plant's voice, man. It's Robert Plant's voice. I'm sorry, I love Robert Plant, but it's Robert Plant's voice, clear as a bell. So I would deny that too, though. If I was Robert Plant, deny. Right. What are you talking about? That's not there. Neither is the album. Neither is the album that opened up overseas but got banned over in America, right?
Right.
Yeah, that didn't happen. Satanic symbols, a goat across the way, standing on a dove with a Noah's Ark. But that was the thing in the 70s. So the people listening, first off, don't think we're not promoting or going against either religion. This is not about that. Right. What we're simply talking about is a trend that was occurring at the time. Right. Now, what's interesting about this trend, now, if you want to get into the hocus pocus part, that's interesting. These were off the biggest albums. The albums we're about to talk about tonight were the biggest albums for each one of these bands, or at least one of the biggest albums. Right. So it's kind of weird. The next most important thing you're going to note, if you read about or study into this, tragedy happens to every one of these bands after these albums. So it's kind of weird, you know what? Yeah. Believe it or not, it's just kind of weird. You get a huge hit, you kind of sold out by doing this imagery and stuff, and then there's a big accident with your band, or the band breaks up, or you lose a child, or you're in a wheelchair, Robert Plant, right after the album. So weird stuff happened, you know? anyways, that's my opening story for it. That was my first experience.
Okay.
Led Zeppelin.
And you know, I just read that the statement out of the Rolling Stone magazine, but I have the same thing here. You know that it talks about the bustle in the hedgerow again. Don't be alarmed now, and it talks about here's to my the satanic reference was here's to my sweet Satan, the one whose little path would make me sad and whose power is Satan.
That.
He'll give you. Pardon me.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I was just going, wow. No, I couldn't hear all that. That was like a storybook. It's a very short. I think they're elaborating a little bit on there, perhaps.
Right.
I don't think there's not that many words behind it that I heard, but it was there.
Right.
Something is there.
Okay. Hey, Scott, have you got an opening story to kick us off here?
Well, I would say probably. I remember listening to Revolution number 9.
The Revolution number 9, yeah.
And here, for Beatles and hearing, that album in itself is definitely very twisted, experimental.
Oh yeah.
And I just remember listening and hearing things from, things like from horror movies, like things like when they were doing some of the dialogue for Linda Blair and The Exorcist, where they were doing things that were backwards. And I always thought that sounds that were backwards or on the wrong speed were really weird and scary to me. And I'm a huge horror fan, but just from a young age, always thought it sounded very twisted. And then also too, like when, I was probably, I would say 12 or something like that. I had friends that were into Zeppelin, and we had Zeppelin 4 and Zoso or whatever, and then did the whole thing with Stairway to Heaven and did the backmasking thing, and listening to it is definitely like something weird going on there. But, bottom line, I think that, you're talking about, the time period, the late 60s, early 70s, there was a lot of experimental people doing all different types of things with acid and experimenting with black magic. And because it's like fun and spooky, and let's get a Ouija board and let's fuck around with that. And like, that's not something you really should be playing with if you really don't want to be.
We had them as kids, and I never really, it was just a fun thing to do,
Right. But, the thing is that, like, I kind of feel like that, all the stuff that was happening, like, in that time period was, like, experimental. You have the dark side of acid that's kind of going on. You have, Anton LaVey, in his Church of Satan on TV. There's other things. There's other things going on, like the Velvet Underground and the Doors, and a bit on the darker side or whatever. So, and Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, he lived in Aleister Crowley's house. So it's like you're talking about he's got and and Black Sabbath too, like Geezer Butler was painted his walls black, and all these different weird things started happening to him.
Right.
Oh no, I can't go that direction. And so there is definitely some dabbling of darkness going on.
Oh yeah.
So, it's not like these bands, and there's lots of drugs going on, not only just acid, but getting into the mid 70s, cocaine, and a lot of drugs. So like, there's definitely like some things kind of going on, I think, besides the fact of like, oh, let's spook people out and like make something weird with music and make, there's definitely something going on, especially with albums that are like, especially at that time where it's like they're kind of tinging in on something that's like a little bit deeper lyrically and spiritually than just like the love song. You know what I mean? You're talking like Led Zeppelin definitely had some sort of, the Zeppelin 4 Zoso record, that's runes, it's like those signs are runes, you're delving into something that's not just, this is not a pop song and just like, love, peace, and happiness. This is not what's going on here. Hotel California, you're talking about that album too. There's a lot of darkness that's happening there. So anything that might be coincidental that might be happening, maybe it's something that really did happen and wasn't something that they were planning. It was just like something that happened. They were keying into something that might be a little bit more supernatural, perhaps.
Right. Well, you know that Revolution number
But-
9 that you mentioned, that was a weird song, but the ran backwards. You would pick up "Turn Me On, Dead Man," "Turn Me On, Dead Man." They say that was like the first reference to kind of like Paul is dead, you know,
Right.
which came out late. Wasn't that on Sergeant Pepper's? Not Sergeant Pepper.
I thought it was the
Strawberry
White
Fields
Album.
wasn't it?
Oh.
Or
I thought it was the White Album. Wasn't it
okay,
behind number 9?
maybe
Number
it was the
9,
White
number
Album.
9?
Okay,
I mean,
we have another guest joining the stream. Dan, how you doing, Dan?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah, I love it. And as you know, we're talking about backmasking. You and I had a little conversation about that
I should go
earlier.
sideways.
Yeah.
And we
There,
were talking
I'll match
about
you guys.
nice.
the Beatles. The Beatles started backmasking in about '67. But anyway, so we're just kind of going around, Dan, and you had a couple of stories you wanted to share. This is really open and loose. Somebody told me this week in the just Facebook, they said they're really loving the shows, and one of the things they're really liking about it, they feel like they're just sitting in the living room. We're all just having a conversation. I'm trying to
In the van.
strip away as much structure as I can, and just make it kind of a little more of a free fall for all to the extent that we can. We just all take turns popping in here and talking and stuff. I'm totally good with that. You know? Okay, well, what do you got there, Lou?
The guitar in the way so I can back up. that's a real musician there. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Got a guitar, but now I can sit back.
There was kind of a big thing happened with Judas Priest too. Let me see. I think I've got a couple of pictures of the album that I'm talking about right now. Let's see. Might be kind of fun to show a couple of albums while we're doing this.
Screaming for vengeance. We definitely got to talk about the Eagles album. That one's loaded with stuff. Hotel California.
Yeah. Let's see. This is okay. Here's Judas Priest here. Better by You, Better by Me, and that was an album. It was originally recorded by a band called Spooky Tooth in '69. Then the British metal band Judas Priest did the cover on it, and the members wound up going to court in 1990 when two parents of two young fans who attempted suicide were blaming it on the song.
That.
You know, and they actually the parents lost. You know, the lawsuit was thrown out. The case was dismissed with the judge ruling that any subliminal messages in the song, if they existed, were not culpable, you know, for the deaths. You know. So that was kind of interesting, you know. And after that, I'm gonna skip to our old friend. Okay, our old friend Ozzy Osbourne, and I have another album here. Now, this was the band album. Lou, you were in the Philippines.
Seem to be losing signal.
Huh? You were in the Philippines when this band. Black Sabbath album,
losing signal
along with Led Zeppelin 4. And this album never made it to the U.S. back then, right?
Oh, there it is. Okay, so I heard. Oh, when I was in the Philippines, this album opened up and has a black upside down Sabbath in it, and it had a song called "Evil Woman." And the American version at that time was not an album that opened up. They banned that inside.
The label did that, though.
And "Evil Woman" was removed.
The label did that, though. That wasn't the band's choice.
Zeppelin 4 the same way.
But that upside down
cutting out. So actually, you guys are cutting out to me.
The upside down cross was not the band's choice to do that. That was a label decision.
Let's see if I get my hotspot back. It's showing good signal.
Okay, Scott. So you're saying it was not the band's choice. It was a label's choice.
The band's choice to put that upside down cross in that gatefold. That was a label's choice. That was a PR stunt. And they were really mad about that because honestly, if you read Sabbath's lyrics when it comes down to it, yeah, there's a lot of, darkness going on, but it's really like kind of against Satan. I mean, all this stuff is really like kind of hippie. Like if you read all the lyrics, it's really kind of like, that's really where Geezer Butler was going. Geezer Butler was painting his walls black and dealing with all these different dark forces while he was doing drugs around that time. And he's like, I'm not going to do that stuff anymore. He's like, So I think that that's kind of like, an interesting thing. What just that the preconceived notion that Sabbath is like a satanic band. It's like they're not.
Okay. Well, yeah, I wanted to point one thing out on the Blizzard of Oz album cover. These silver crosses, those were made by Ozzy Osbourne's father for all the band members, just to kind of protect him because of their audience and stuff that they had. is what I've read. Okay. And also, speaking of Ozzy and Suicide Solution song, there's a kid, a 19-year-old kid, John McCollum, shot and killed himself listening to an Ozzy album in 1984. And in Indio, California, the 19-year-old's parents went to sue the singer, alleging that the lyrics to Osbourne's song, Suicide Solution, were a proximate cause of their son's death. And they went on to say, he's a perfectly normal kid. He had no signs of depression. He would have never done something like this. It has to be the song. And according to the police report, the former Black Sabbath star's debut solo album, Blizzard of Oz, was found on McCollum's turntable, cued to one side, which concludes with Suicide Solution. And a photo from the scene showed that he was still wearing his headphones. And so anyway, they tried to sue the band, Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne, and actually again, their daughter said that he would never kill himself. It was the music he listened to, Mom.
The lyrics are about Bon Scott's death. First of all,
yeah.
Well,
and that's okay. So this is what
anti-suicide song.
So they sue anti-suicide song. I love it. So they sued, and Ozzy says, okay, hold on, let me get Lou back on. I just noticed he was. Hi, Lou. We're talking.
Sorry,
we're
the devil got me. Damn you,
still
devil.
Talking about Ozzy Osbourne and how he was mixed up in a lawsuit with a kid that shot himself. When they found him, he still had his headphones on, and the phonograph was sitting there all the way over to Suicide, whatever the name of that song was. But the case was dismissed, and with the court declaring that McCallum's suicide was not a foreseeable result of Osbourne's song. The family of another young man, Michael Waller, brought a similar lawsuit against Osbourne the same year, alleging the subliminal messages hidden within Suicide Solution caused their son to kill himself. That case was also unsuccessful. And like you said, but what was kind of interesting, additionally interesting about this, the whole thing's interesting, was that had that case not been dismissed, anybody that's ever made a movie, wrote a book, they could all be accused of the same kind of stuff. It would have just destroyed like free speech,
Oh, of course.
Yeah, we survived Tom and Jerry,
Kill people. Art doesn't kill people. Kill people. No. Circumstances kill people. Yourself.
Well, circumstances kill people. Sure. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Where would that end? I mean, gosh, every movie that you see.
Oh my God, every movie. I mean, there's so much violence
cartoons,
in the movies and stuff like that. And what's crazy, let's just say that none of these songs were ever ran backwards and there was never any messages found. We would still be listening to the songs and the parts of the songs that the only parts that we can hear anyway. We wouldn't. And I mean, how did this kid listen to that song? It's not like it was being played backwards and there were subliminal messages.
Okay, well, let's be devil's advocate, pardon the pun, for a moment. Now, remember, they did take some action in some areas of subliminal or backmasking. For example, the movies. You used to go to a movie theater and you didn't know it, but there were symbols flashing to buy popcorn, to eat certain things in the top corners of the film. Right.
Yeah.
And now today they do it right in front of your face. Ad placements everywhere. The guy's drinking a Coke while you're watching.
Subliminal about it. They make more money on that than they do the movies.
There's cigarettes in the movie.
I took my grandkids to the show. It was like $80. My grandson says, "Well, I want to be in the D box. The seats that move around and the 3D and everything's adding like $10 to the ticket price."
He might be
slight exaggeration, but
plane to the Caribbean. Instead of going to Disneyland, just go to the Caribbean. It's the same price, you know. But my point is
they use subliminal messaging in movies as well. They did it in The Exorcist. There's they just flash of a horrifying, scary face for just a second, and what was that? And it whether you know it or not, it makes you a little more scared. And that's what they wanted. They wanted a scared audience, so they would little subliminal things pop in there.
There was some good. Didn't take much back in the day. They knew how to build up to a climax, like those movies you were showing, Dan.
Oh yeah,
all those old like '60s and stuff, horror movies. Those are. I got to watch a couple. They were fun.
Well, some good came out of this though too, as far as especially drummers. For example, what we discovered in backmasking was that a snare drum sounds awfully good backwards, and that became a reverse envelope in the studio. Yeah, that zoop. That sound you started getting in the late 70s, early 80s in the studio. That was a reverse envelope discovered with playing it backwards. Same with the cymbals. Bonham was doing that backwards. Susie and the Banshee really took advantage of that later on in the 90s. If you listen to that, what is it? Mental Hopscotch, whatever that song was all zoom, bump, doom, doom, and everything is backwards. And the song played forward. It's really cool.
Did Motley Crue do that with Shout at the Devil, the very beginning?
Sure.
Probably.
Sure sounds like it. Yeah. It sounds like it. Vroom, ow, vroom, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Susie and the Banshee, though, really does it well on that one. And also Art of Noise did it a lot in the 90s. Another band that took advantage of it. So some good came out, as I'm saying. Some people did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You were talking about Judas Priest earlier, about how they got sued and all that.
Right,
I was actually in Reno when that happened.
You were?
Yeah, we went on vacation up to Lake Tahoe, and we were spending some time down in Reno, and we had to drive by the courthouse, and I seen all these satellite trucks. I had no idea what was going on. So I stopped and got out and found out, hey, Judas Priest is in there, I got some pictures of satellite trucks, but I wasn't allowed to go in the courtroom or anything. But that lasted 3 or 4 days, I believe, at least when I was there the whole time.
Now that's a band. That's a band I never saw, like in concert or anything.
Oh, I did.
I'm going to see them in a week and a half.
Yeah, they were.
They're
here.
Yeah, everybody's touring right now. Oh my God! It's like every time I turn my computer on. I mean, I've already got tickets to see Alice Cooper, and Ace Frehley's going to be there too. But I mean, everybody's touring. Pardon me?
I went to 2 shows this weekend.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Saturday, yeah.
But I just found out ZZ Top's coming to the Paso Robles Fairgrounds, and just every time I turn my computer on, somebody close, even down in the Santa Barbara Bowl, they're advertising some really good shows. I saw
crowds are hopping
a couple of years ago. Pardon me?
And the crowds are hopping. What I'm seeing online and while I'm traveling, the crowds are back. At least over here. I'm on the East Coast right now. They are.
Well, even here in Dallas, where I live, I live in a little town. There. I live in a town called the Colony, and years ago we were just out in the middle of a country. There was nobody here. Now it's the center of everything. Dallas Cowboys are 5 miles away. We got we got Grandscape, and Grandscape is amazing. I mean, and so there's before you'd go drive through there on a Saturday night during the pandemic, and the place you see a few cars. It wasn't very busy. I went out there last night. It was bumper to bumper with cops out there directing traffic. We're talking tens of thousands of cars.
The traffic is back. I was driving New York City last night. I mean, I was going into a show from Woodstock, driving down. It was like about a 2-hour drive. And Harlem River Drive, usually, I mean, like normal, it would be totally packed. Pandemic time, there was no one's traveling. Back like how it used to be pre-pandemic.
Yeah. Wow. The only show that I saw that wasn't like that in 2020 was Sturgis. The motorcycle event had 7 stages, 1-to-1. And you had a lot of big bands there that were hanging out because nobody was touring. We're all sitting together watching the bands. It was kind of cool. They could have flipped that, but they didn't. It was kind of cool that you had these big time bands all sitting around.
Yeah, that's
good to see it coming back.
Fun time up there at Sturgis River, Sturgis Run. I've only made that trip once.
But it was about much more than a momotorcycle event. This time, because it was the only festival in America that year, only one.
Oh yeah. Well, they have that Buffalo Chip campground that holds thousands and thousands of people, and people just pitch tents and whatever. And they have a big name band every single night plays in there. I mean, top stuff.
Oh, the entire perimeter. I was all the way up to gosh, where was it? I forget. I'm blanking out the name with our presidents on the darn hill. Our 4 presidents. Thank you. There 4 levels of motorcycles in that garage alone, and that's like hour out or something like that from there. But hey, let's talk about the inside of that Eagles album real quick, because
let's do that.
Matter of fact, that was brought up today. I saw on a little piece where they were talking about that. I kind of looked back up. I don't know if it was Glenn Fry or something. There was a comment that was stated that album ruined us, was the quote, that it was their greatest, but also it ruined the band. They broke up right after that album.
Wow.
And what's interesting is LaVey was brought up by Scott. And the big rumor is that when you open up the album on the second story up top there, that's him. And what's really weird is if you look at the second level, there is a person with a red shirt, which was kind of his trademark, the black suit, red shirt. But you'll see 2 bull-like shadow. There's a weird shadow. It looks like 2 horns like this. If you open up the album, you'll see it. And then if you continue the shadow, it looks like a long tail is going down the wall from the balcony where his head is. Now, if you turn the album to the back side, none of that shadow exists on the exact same wall, exact same picture when the room is empty. Yes.
That's weird.
If you Google that album online, apparently there's several other things in the crowd. People have circled anomalies that are relative to that person being in the room. So that's a big thing, because that album, of course, had their big song. The album opens up. They got away with it because it wasn't a blatant upside down cross like Black Sabbath's debut album. It wasn't the hermit from the tarot cards looking at a sacrificial sheep like Led Zeppelin, right?
Right.
No, it was a crowd of people, and nobody could really tell who that guy was. But there were some bullhorns, and there's an oddball tail, right? But they got away with it.
Now, it was a QAnon shaman, wasn't
it? Who knows? but here's what we know. That's their biggest album. Here we are again. It sure looks like him when you focus in, and his pictures in the Satanic Bible. It sure looks like him.
Right.
And I don't know if anyone ever denied it wasn't him. I've never saw anyone say no, it wasn't. Straight up say no, it wasn't.
Right.
So that's a big one right there, and that's where eventually the bands aren't as discreet. Like you were just talking about Ozzy Osbourne when I bugged out accidentally. But you got to keep in mind, right after that album you just showed, remember, another weird anomaly. They have that accident in the bus, and they lose their guitarist in that accident shortly after that album. So there's this weird crash. Yeah, and he dies. He died, and they were on fire. And that album was right after. And what was the song on that one? Mr. Crowley. Bom, bom, bom. They're singing about Crowley in that album. It was just like in your face. So, and it goes up another level. I ran into Steve from Seth. Remember those guys, the 90s? They were just like right in your face. They had like, demon stuff on stage. It was all, way ahead of its time as far as the devil type stuff. But I met the guy. He was nothing like that. It was all show.
Yep.
Is where I want to back that up. It was a show. It was almost like a horror movie. They're trying to scare you on it intentionally. So I want to put that in there. No, it was true. At least in his area, and I believe him talking. It was a show. These other things, I don't know. I don't know if Ozzy's goofing around in that stuff. I mean, sometimes he looks silly to me doing it. He goes so far trying to be scary, Beavis and Butthead on a show made fun of that, going, ooh, spooky, when Ozzy came on. So, yeah, I don't know. That's my 2 cents, but definitely look at Hotel California. That's one of the most fun ones to really, and that also brings back what I miss about albums. Oh, great song. But looking at albums, that's part of what the art was. You open up an album and you look, and they made it more interesting by, I think, doing that in a way. That was part of the art. In defense of the bands. That was an artistic thing to do. The White Album, you open up the White Album, and there's those 2 ghostly hands around Paul McCartney's picture, looking like he's choking him. It's in the White Album.
Is that on the poster?
I think I thought it was in the inside sleeve.
Maybe. I have a copy. I have a kind of a low numbered White Album here. I might want to find that just to see that, you know.
It's a little black and white picture, and it's just him like looking like this, and there's two ghostly white hands around his neck.
I missed that. I don't remember that.
That's many of the things they did on their albums. Just, you know, like Abbey Road. We all know about the Volkswagen If 28 on the plate.
Right.
He's out of step of the rest. He doesn't have shoes on like a corpse. You know,
hey, you guys keep talking. I'm going to grab my White Album if I can.
Yeah, bring it over.
I'm not going to spend 20 minutes over there.
grab the Hotel California if you got it nearby. Open that baby up. That's amazing. That one's so obvious when you see the shadow.
I think too, when the public starts, you know, saying things, oh, they're satanic or whatever, I think the bands hype it up too. You know, hey, you know, why not hype it up? It just, the more controversial, the more publicity you get, the more sales you get.
Well, yeah, let's talk about part of why that was. You got to go back to the time. And this is not about politics. I'm not pro. I'm not getting that, but
there's my White
there it
Album.
is.
Yeah.
Open that baby up. Nancy Reagan, remember at the time.
Top 2% of low numbers.
Oh, it should be in there. Better not make me a liar.
I know. Let's see.
Look around for it.
We've got these photos. Did you say it was like a small picture?
Yeah. You know, there's supposed to be a part where there's all kinds of little pictures. What part was that on?
Okay, hold on.
There's a whole bunch of little pictures scattered.
You really got my curiosity up.
I'm doing this all by memory, so this is badassery if I pull this off.
The only place where I can maybe see that would be, of course, here's the
side sleeve.
Here's the individual pictures of all of them.
No, it's going to be in the little ones.
A lightweight one, the original.
I think you're there right
there.
The
other one is a big poster.
Oh, maybe it is the poster.
Maybe it is the poster.
Yes, because it's in one of those little squares.
Being choked out. I gotta find this.
Yeah, it's gonna be on there. Look for the little square of him.
Yeah,
you'll see the two hands. Now, while you're looking at that, I want to talk about Nancy Reagan. Remember at the time was coming up with the sticker about adult content on the albums, and the musicians at the time, we were freaking out because we're like going, "Wow, this is censorship. You're going to make us put a label on our albums, and you have to be 18 or older to purchase the album if it has that label." We all thought it was going to be death, but it ended up becoming that you wanted that label on your album because the minute that sticker was on there, you sold twice as many because people were like, it was kind of like the pack of cigarettes. I want to get those pack of cigarettes that I can't have, you know? It backfired. And I think that's what where Dan's kind of talking about a little bit, is it the band's playing on that, going, yeah, this is so vulgar, you know, that you're gonna have to have a sticker on it. You got to get permission. You got to be badass to get our album.
Yeah,
you know, like that. Did you find it?
Don't make me look it up. I can't say that I found it yet.
He's there. It's there. Yeah, I know it is.
Okay.
Take a look on the lower right. Lower right of that page. Yeah, look lower right.
Lower right here. It is actually a picture of Paul McCartney here.
All right, look close. See any ghostly hands?
There's no hands coming out his throat here.
Oh, you're gonna make me look it up. All right, I'm gonna pull it up.
It's weird. Yeah, no. Go ahead. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'll see if I can grab it on this laptop I have on the side.
I've really never looked at this poster all that close.
Yeah, it'll definitely be in there. We'll have to search White Album, Paul McCartney, Ghost Hands, and it'll probably come up. I'll also have to get this booted up.
It might be here. There's so many pictures here, and some of them are very small.
It's a small one. It was, if I remember, about an inch by a half. I can remember to see it, and then I've seen it again after that. I also had that album, of course. If you're a musician and you don't own a Beatles album, or you didn't own a Beatles album, it's questionable. Something's up. Come on, you got to at least. And Sgt. Pepper, you got to own Sgt. Pepper, whether you don't like the Beatles or not. It's something you should listen to. It's just that
I can't find it right now.
You didn't see it? All right. Well, let's keep going, and I'll look it up over here.
There's a lot of really small pictures that are hard to see.
I'll see if I can pull it up while we are continuing.
Yeah, that'd be great, because, like I said, I'm not finding it on the inside of the album cover. All you've got is the pictures of the four of them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Now, of course, like I said, we know Abbey Road as well, and then he was the Walrus and Magical Mystery Tour, or that stuff.
Right,
but we'll get
right.
this one. This one's the best one because you see they're transparent arms, and you see them wrapped around his throat. They're really cool.
Wow, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I gotta find it. Now I gotta find it.
Now you gotta find it. Yeah.
Now I gotta find it. You called me out. I gotta find it. So while I'm looking this up, what other one can we address?
Okay, well, there's actually a lot of them. Let me see. I've got a list here. I skipped ahead a little bit. Queen, another one, Bites the Dust. There was subliminal messages.
Oh, really?
But they weren't satanic or anything, or nobody accused. It was start to smoke marijuana was the message.
So
there's a debate about whether Freddie Mercury singing "Start to smoke marijuana" or "It's fun to smoke marijuana." So that's the big controversy on Queens.
That's kind of like the Beatles.
I go with the second. It's fun. So.
Actually, a backmasking, or is that a subliminal message?
Let's see.
That's a good question.
You know, I did a search on Wikipedia on backmasking, and there are a lot of
smoke marijuana, which, as we learned earlier with John Lennon, is how the whole backwards message trend started with John Lennon smoking pot. So they're saying the whole backwards message trend started. So I'm assuming they're talking about it was backwards.
Well, as far as rock is concerned, but the backwards playing of records is advised training magicians by occultist Aleister Crowley. So you're talking about this is going back to when vinyl just started really coming around.
Right,
so
right.
He was saying that an adept should train himself to think backwards by external means by listening to records backwards.
Okay,
that's pretty crazy.
Right. Then we also have Electric Light Orchestra.
They've got several of them. Yeah.
Yeah. The music is reversible. Time is not. Turn back. Turn back. And then it's like, okay, the forward version of the song contains a backwards message in the instrumental opening over sinister sounding synthesizers. A garbled voice says something that sounds like madness. But stop the record, push it in reverse over the grooves, and the message is clear. The music is reversible. Time is not. Turn back, trippy. I don't know. That doesn't sound weird. Too bad. That's ELO. That doesn't sound too bad.
But you're really looking for stuff that's not there with this kind of thing. You know what I mean? There's one thing to actually backmask. A band is like, okay, we're going to put some subliminal messages in there. So these kids that are smoking pot back in the 70s are going to start backmasking the vinyl just to check it out. Freaked out. And then there's actually just that, you're starting to play records backwards and no one put anything in it. And you're starting to try to find stuff that's actually not there.
Right.
That's kind of like what I was saying earlier. When I was saying earlier, it's people start looking for things that aren't there. Well, the band plays into it. They'll throw them a bone every now and then.
Beatles,
why not?
The Beatles. Right. Yeah, they're saying it's on the poster. By the way, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to look at the poster, and it is really hard, especially the digital version of this poster on a computer. But it is mentioned online, and it says there are actually more than one clue on this poster. I didn't know that. And there's supposed to be several, but I can't see. The clarity's not good enough to be able to see it on at least this screen. And I think that one shot on the lower right, but it could be on one of those, like they have those little film shots, it could be in one of those, and they're tiny, like you said, so you'd have to zoom in on it. But I'll keep seeing if I can get a specific one. But yeah, supposed to be on that poster.
So you think it's on the poster?
That's what the internet's even saying. Yeah. There's a clue on the poster.
Okay.
And that was the old one.
I'll look again later. I don't want to.
Next time. Yeah. No, my eyes are killing just looking at that. If it's
there, I'll find it. I'll take a magnifying glass or whatever,
I'll try to send it to you if I find it too. It says White Album posters where it's located. So it's on that poster somewhere.
Good. Yeah, there's tons of pictures on that.
On the top left.
There's a picture of him with his hands like this, and there's some different pictures with his, hands and arms nearby, but it looked like his to me, not.
I just found one that's weird. I just found one that's weird that I didn't know. In the top left of that poster, check it out. It's showing him drowning in a bathtub.
Okay, now I saw that. I saw that.
That's weird. Yeah, that's apparently one of them. Yeah, they're showing him. It looks like he's dead in the bathtub.
No, that's exactly how it looks. There's foam all around him,
Oh,
and
it's not around his neck. It's around his waist. There's a picture on the poster. There's a pole like he's on a subway. The ghost hands are coming from behind him. I was wrong, not his neck. They're grabbing him from behind. I'm looking at it now. On the poster.
There's a picture in the bathtub right there, Lou.
That's Oh, that does look kind of weird. Like that doesn't look like he normally lay in a bathtub, right?
It could be the hands doing what you said. Yeah.
That's not Jim Morgan, is it?
Now, I saw the picture of the subway.
So he's standing. Look for the picture where there's a pole in it, and he's standing next, holding the pole.
Okay. I'm looking.
And as he's standing with the pole, it's McCartney. He's wearing white pants, it looks like, and a black jacket. And if you look at his waist from behind, there are ghost hands grabbing him at the waist, and that's on the poster.
Grabbing him at the waist, not around the neck, huh?
Not around the neck. It's from behind. They're grabbing him from the waist from behind.
All right.
So that's why I had it wrong. Definitely looks.
The White Album is Charles Manson's album. Like, if you know anything about Manson murders, that's his album. He was like, all that stuff, Sexy Sadie, and he's like, oh, that's my crew. It's like, that's talking about
is this the one you're talking about here with this pole sticking up?
Yeah.
There's a pole, they say bottom right of the poster is what it says.
Bottom right
of the poster. Paul McCartney.
Oh, no, here it is.
It shows Paul
right at my finger.
Paul McCartney in profile, clapping and dancing. And then if you look close, you'll see the ghost hands are behind him on his waist. That's it. That's it. That's it. Now look at his back right there. You'll see two white images reaching out.
Okay. I do see that. They're kind of
those are ghost hands. That they're saying that's death.
It's sort of almost like a glare. I can't really. It's hard to say.
The one on the left is bony. When you zoom in on it, it's creepy. It looks like bones.
Okay. All right. Well, we
got that out of there.
You were talking about.
Yay!
Yeah, that's the main thing.
The Eagles one is cooler though, but that's not technically Backmasking.
That's this White Album. The guy goes, "Oh yeah, we got two of them," and I go, "This was like at a antique kind of a record store," and I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, I got two of them." And I said, "Okay." I went over and looked at the first one, which was because it was cheaper. And it didn't have the pictures, the individual photographs or the poster in it. And I go, "Where's the other one at?"
Wow.
And he pulled it out and it had everything in it. And I was just really felt lucky to find it all because it's a pretty low number, And it's in good shape. The albums are in great shape. They're not, scratched up and stuff. So I was real happy. But this stuff's getting scarcer and scarcer, And I tell you, it was like, I felt like when all I was doing was unboxing vinyl albums, it's like, the search for vinyl was just intense, But anyway,
the prices of vinyl.
This has been a lot of fun. We have somebody named Frank James. Wait, Nancy Reagan wanted stickers on LPs. Oh, that's what wasn't that the PRMC and Tipper Gore?
PRMC.
Yeah, I think it was Tipper Gore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the rap guys really had a good time with it? They were really went after that. Like Run DMC and then after them, NWA, right. They were like, let's get that sticker.
Yeah, if you don't have a sticker, you have no cred.
Yeah.
Right.
So the sticker became everything. Parental advisory, black, white, black. Do they even still have that? Is that even out still? How do you do it nowadays? You're on MP3s.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess
they lost the war.
Where did that go? Yeah, I know.
I don't know either.
Unless you're trying to talk on Facebook.
Right. Well, there's a whole lot of. I think once the cat was out of the bag with backmasking, it was like everybody was doing it. Everybody was trying. The list is like you could print list on top of list on top of list, of all the people that were doing it. I mean, Ash, the album Evil Eye. And I'm not even familiar with Ash. Does anybody know the band Ash? Okay. Well, she's given me the evil eye. Suck Satan's cock.
Whoa!
I should have
see that coming.
I should have pre-read.
Where's that beat button?
That's said at the beginning of the song. Lead singer Tim Wheeler remarked that, yeah, we did hide a secret message in Evil Eye, but it's not that bad.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
Right.
I know a band that did it as well. Drowning Pool, they did it. You know,
Oh, okay.
they're
Okay.
a local band here,
Band.
and they did it on a song called Sermon.
Okay.
And you know, they let it known that they did it. They wanted people to look for it, I guess.
Right. Hey, we'll do a shout out to Mr. Bizarro here. He was on with us last week, and it was a great conversation. I wound up being kind of just a spectator because he's a drummer as well. And you guys knew all these drummers and stuff, and we're having this conversation about drummers.
Scott should have been there.
Really
We didn't.
cool.
Scott.
We couldn't make it last week. I'm sorry, guys.
I know. We tried to
You
get
would have
him.
loved it.
I know you would have. Yeah, you really would have loved it. Mr. Bizarro's welcome. I put a link up, and if he wants to pop on, we might jump back into some of that and see what he has to say about the backmasking.
There's
I'm sorry, but okay. How about the Beatles' Rain? The sun shines, rain. If the sun comes out, they run and hide their heads. Gibberish occurs during the fade out. Accompanying music is not reversed. Free as a bird turned out to be nice.
Right.
Anyway, not much good stuff there. But Beck, Loser album. Beck.
I knew about that one.
He had I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? Those are great lyrics. I'm a loser, baby. Why don't you
a great
kill me?
song.
I tell that to my wife every other day.
Might wake up.
That's the entire chorus reversed. After the last time Beck says, I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? And before the vocal, I'm a driver, I'm a winner. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Butthole Surfers.
Remember those guys? Black Flag. All those guys.
They were actually kind of big for a while,
Yeah.
They had an album, Pepper, and I don't mind the sun sometimes. The image it shows, I could taste you on my lips, smell you on my clothes. Cinnamon and sugary, soft-spoken lies. You never know how you look through other people's eyes.
Yep.
Between the second chorus and the third verse, he says, Jesus wore a blank check. No, I'm sorry. I mixed it up. What I'd already read was between the second chorus and the third verse. I'm moving on. I've got so many pages here.
Yeah, scroll down to Deep Purple.
Okay, let's see if I can find Deep Purple.
I didn't know it's Deep Purple. Deep Purple had one, huh?
Yeah.
Drowning Pool, White Lightning, Missy.
Is it off of Machine Head? Machine
Eminem.
Head album?
Let's see. I'm pretty sure I have Machine Head too. Iron Maiden, of course. Journey, Message of Love. Let's see.
I heard Styx even had something going on. Styx with Grand Illusion.
Korn, Shoot the Ladder.
Heard any backing on.
And what list of satanic verses would be complete without Marilyn Manson's Tourniquet?
Right.
Motorhead, Nightmares, the Dreamtime,
Nightmares
/ Dreamtime. Okay. Oingo Boingo, Cry of the Batos. Batos, Ozzy Osbourne, Bloodbath in Paradise. God.
There's just so many of them.
Oh my God. It's endless. I mean, everybody got into it. The Plasmatics, Coup d'etat. Pink Floyd.
Oh, I remember the Plasmatics.
Yeah. Got any Plasmatic stories?
Sure.
Her big thing. Do you guys remember the jackhammer?
Yeah.
That was her big claim to fame.
The jackhammer.
The jackhammer.
Okay.
Yeah, she would come out pretty much nude and sit on the jackhammer. That was her.
Oh, really?
That was back. Yes. Yeah. Missing Persons. Remember when she did the cups?
Yeah.
That was kind of like her thing. Was she had the cups and then what was her name? Wendy? Was it her name?
I think so.
Yeah. You look at she did. That was her big thing. This jacket.
I love those glass bubbles. Those are great. I love that video.
That was Dale Bozio, I think was the name for the girl with the cups.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Terry's wife at the time, ex-Hustler star.
Right. Yeah, Frank James is talking about Paul dead in the tub, drowning, but wasn't a clue. He blew his mind out in a car. So that must be that picture we were talking about in the tub, right? With the
that does look spooky. I'd never seen that. Looked at it that way.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
It's just the way his face looked. It wasn't normal. It looked like a dead person.
Okay.
I thought it did. You just saw it. It didn't look like someone relaxing in a tub. It looked like they were trying to make it look like he was dead.
Right.
They'd been drowned.
And then Frank James is also saying, Jesse's brother Frank, 2 Live Crew. I think NWA came out later.
Yeah.
Adam D. Right. Adam D. Thank you, Tipper Gore, for showing us the good music.
Yeah, but I think Scott was getting ready to say
really
something about this.
Highlight it for us, yeah.
I might be wrong, but it seemed like Scott was alluding at one point. I feel that these guys sometimes are trying a little too hard. It was so blatant. It was like they got their eye off the ball of their music and the art, and they're trying too hard to put this crap in there, and it kind of ruined it at some levels.
So unnecessary. It's just like I said. Everybody had to do it at least once, And
even the circumstances around the albums that bands did at the time, there's the late 70s stuff, and you starting getting into Ozzy Osbourne, and Motley Crue doing Shout at the Devil, and you're doing 666 Number of the Beast or whatever, Iron Maiden, and there's circumstances that happened after those albums when those bands did those albums, and you have to think that was that due to because they were delving into this imagery, or is it? Or you're just on drugs and shit happens in life, like the whole thing that happened with Vince Neil and Razzle from Hanoi Rocks, Vince Neil and Razzle from Hanoi Rocks. Vince Neil basically, manslaughter, they were driving in a car, going to get alcohol in LA. That's after the Shout at the Devil album. I mean, so it's like, well, did that have anything to do with it? I mean, I don't necessarily really. I
know,
think so,
and you know what? Who knows, really?
You want to blame it on the imagery. You want to blame it on the imagery. I don't really believe that that's true. I mean, but I think that if you do have a deep belief in something like that, then maybe it is something that would come true for you. You believe in ghosts; they're real to you. But if you don't believe in them, you don't see them. So I mean,
Right.
So I just don't know if the circumstances really surround that. I mean, like, for instance, like people that are like blaming Judas Priest for your son killing himself, or Marilyn Manson, for Columbine and these, and then you want to say, okay, Charles Manson was listening to the White Album, Richard Ramirez or whatever, this Night Stalker was listening to AC/DC Highway to Hell album. I mean, it's like, you're gonna blow that on, like, oh, that's the reason why that person's crazy or why they do crazy things. To me, it's just, it's art. It's like, you can't take it that way. It's like blaming The Exorcist for for satanic possession or something. You can't blame a movie or an artwork for a reason why somebody has a problem.
No, you can't blame the movie.
Video games.
Yeah, we all have a choice. We can turn it off if we don't want to hear it.
Right.
Pink Floyd, Empty Spaces, they had you run it backwards and it's like, hello, looker, congratulations. You've just discovered the secret message.
That's fun that some people had fun with it,
You've just discovered the secret. Please send your answer to Old Pink, care of the Funny Farm.
Do you remember that some of these albums, the thing that came after this was that some of these albums, it would seem like the album was over. But if you just let it keep going, where it seemed like it was out of groove, all of a sudden, maybe up to 4 minutes later, some ridiculous amount of time, you'd hear a little piece of another song. Or you'd hear the Beatles talking or laughing or something,
Oh, no kidding.
That was kind of the next phase of what started happening was these other.
There was. I don't know if you ever heard of this band called Klaatu. Back in this probably late 70s they came out, and everybody thought it was the Beatles had gotten back together and recorded under another name, And they kept it a secret for a long time. Then finally was revealed that it was the band called Klaatu. And same thing. You listen to that album, on their very first album, just let it play. And they did little things, and all you hear is like a little mouse squeak. That was it. just a mouse squeak. And that was a big thing. And on the album cover, they got a little mouse in the bottom corner. And they had like I guess they call it Easter eggs now, where they hide things, and people looking for things.
I'm going to throw up another picture or two. Now, I had this picture. I used it on another show, but Lou turned me on to the fact that this was the this was the album cover
inside.
That came out when you were in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, the Led Zeppelin 4.
They didn't initially release Led Zeppelin 4 with this album cover in the United States.
Well, that was inside. So Led Zeppelin 4 overseas, the album would open up, and it was black on the inside. Yeah, and it had.
Okay, I had it wrong.
It looks like he's standing on a dove. If you look really close, that was the claim. In the rock there, under the feet, there's a dove, and it has the Noah's Ark thing, and then across the way, in the other side of the album, was a goat, the sacrificial lamb, or however you want to call it. So, and then of course they were claiming that was a pentagram
inside
the
a
lantern.
And I've seen a better picture of that where you can see it too.
Yeah, and then of course that's supposed to represent the hermit from the tarot cards, blah blah blah. But the bottom line is, this originally never made it to the States. The album that you got in the States was a single album. It was a front and back, and that was it. It didn't open up.
It's not a gatefold. Okay. But I'll tell you what, though, that gatefold artwork is fucking awesome. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The calligraphy is great.
And they recreated that image in their movie Song Remains the Same.
Yes.
And Jimmy Page is climbing up that mountain, He gets to the top and he looks at the face, and it's Jimmy Page looking at himself. It's like, wow.
That's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then Black Sabbath was the same thing. The debut album, overseas, it opened up. And it was black. And then in the upside down cross was the Sabbath. And then they had, basically it was almost like, a seance type piece. That, and then they had the song Evil Woman, which was an extra song on the album that did not make it to the States. The States, the album's a single album again, and that was it. But eventually you could get it.
That album cover, though, that first cover, fucking the coolest fucking album cover of all time.
Well, here's the shame, Scott. I agree with it, because in the overseas, it was meant to be opened. Because when you open that album, you see the full picture of the witch, it looks like a witch, and then the full scene. But because we didn't allow that here, you had to keep doing this.
Right.
You had to keep turning over. And it really kind of hurt the work.
Yeah, I have the gatefold, and you open the gatefold, it's like the witch is on the side with the house, and then it keeps going.
Yes, it's amazing. And it doesn't make as much sense when you don't see it that way. It was just kind of like, oh, there's nothing on the other side.
Yeah, you can find like an HD copy of it.
That's the full album. That's the full piece opened up right there. The outside of the album. The inside was all black, solid black with an upside down cross.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever seen an upside down cross, actually.
Of course.
When I opened it up. Yeah, you just didn't do that back then. I mean, it was the 70s. You didn't see that stuff. So that was pretty gutsy. And of course, we thought that was pretty rowdy music too. Listen how fast they're playing, Oh my God, that's so fast. Now you listen to it, it's like, that's so slow.
Now here we have Slayer, Hell Awaits.
Yeah, great record.
Being a little more obvious. People are getting more obvious now and getting more gutsy because it's like Madonna rolling on the beds half naked. We'd already seen Marilyn Monroe, right? So we had to take another level.
The Slayer logo, the swords are a upside down pentagram.
Yeah, clearly. And Iron Maiden,
that's right.
That's a pentagram. See it?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes, I do. Right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even former band members, of Pantera, Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul, when they reformed Damage Plan, it's actually in one of their albums too, where looked like they got lighter fluid and made a pentagram and set it on fire, and they look like they're worshiping it. Those guys were so far from
putting on a show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody got into the act, right? I mean,
right, and it's the same thing with a lot of the stuff that came through the metal scene in itself. Was most of those people are just like, a lot of them are like born again Christians. I mean, like Dave Mustaine is a born again Christian, right? I mean, a lot of them are like totally like. I'm not saying that like, you know, there's not satanic musicians that are making satanic music.
No, I'm not saying that either.
We are. But a lot of the major label stuff back in the day like that, it's just imagery, you know, and like a horror movie. That's all it is.
You know, my dad and I used to argue when I was younger. You know, he used to tell me how all the heavy metal guys, they're all devil worshipers. You know, even when I managed a heavy metal band, he told me that they worship the devil. I'm going,
right, Kiss.
I'm going, Dad, I know these guys. They don't worship the devil. It's all a damn show.
Right.
You know, in the old days, people got on stage and they performed their music. You know, well, they want to add a little to it. You know, add a little, you know, Hollywood into it, or a little, you know.
Of course.
So now when you get the music, now you're kind of getting a show too. So you're getting, you know, and they kept Alice Cooper was one of the first, I guess, that did something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He brought it into a stage. You know, I think the only caveat to the conversation on that issue might be Jimmy Page. He did seem to be a little bit into it. I mean, the guy bought Aleister Crowley's castle, for God's sakes, right? And he owned the original robes. So in his case, maybe a little bit, he might have been dabbling a little bit.
You have to look at it and say, I mean, like, and I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan myself, but like,
me too.
Led Zeppelin was kind of like the perfect rock band. I mean, yeah, the Beatles. I love the Beatles, but no. But I'm talking about, like, you're talking 4 people, the front person, the drummer, the all the elements like were perfectly aligned. And it's like, how did you conjure that? How did you manifest that? Well, I don't know. You have Aleister Crowley's house.
You know, I tell you,
there's something going on there.
I go back to high school with Led Zeppelin. You know, when Led Zeppelin 1 came out, a lot of people didn't even know about it. And I think I was like a sophomore in high school or almost a junior. And that came out, and there was no singles on it. So I'm living in Las Vegas. You got your top 40 radio station. They're playing the singles. And it wasn't until, it was the same year, I think it's 68 or 9, same year, Led Zeppelin 2 came out with the single Whole Lot of Love. And then it just blew up. And a lot of people were saying, well, I didn't even know they had a Led Zeppelin 1, you know, because there was no singles. And I'll tell you something, man, we just lost our minds over Led Zeppelin 1 and 2. But I'll tell you, I was going to a school in Las Vegas where there were people from all over. It was kind of a high school, trade school combination. We had a guy that was the Flying Trapeze Act, the father of the Flying Trapeze Act at Caesars. Caesars was there in an auto mechanics class because he wasn't going to be able to do that forever, right? I mean, that's how crazy the mix of people was. You know, it's kind of like everybody that ever got in trouble at a normal high school seemed to be there because they treated you like an adult. You came and went as you pleased, and nobody asked for a note from mommy and daddy, you know? So naturally, me and my friends all had to go there. It was like a must, you know? But when Led Zeppelin 2 came out, then the debate started. It was like, well, a lot of my Vegas friends were like, yeah, well, it's okay. You know, we like it, but Led Zeppelin 1 was more raw and gritty. There were no singles. Now they're kind of selling out for commercial success. But these are the kind of conversations we're having like in our junior year of high school, you know? And then this will surprise a lot of people, but when Led Zeppelin 3 came out, every single friend of mine, and we all were like fanatical Led Zeppelin fans, said they didn't like it. And I immediately rushed out and bought the 8-track tape because I love Led Zeppelin. Anything by them had to be amazing. But it was kind of, people didn't like Led Zeppelin 3, the diehard Led Zeppelin fans. Now, having said that, you can go Google it and find out that it's like 7 times platinum or something, because over time, anything Led Zeppelin was like the holy grail, you know. And but at the time that it came out, it was unpopular. And even if you Google that, you'll find that it was kind of unpopular because it was almost too much of a break. But I listened to it the first time. I didn't really like it, but since I bought it, I just left it in my tape player. And it wasn't a couple of days later that I was starting to like it, you know.
I think it's a
What's that?
Yeah,
it's a brilliant album.
Yeah.
What Led Zeppelin was aware of at the time, and that they tapped in very well, you got to remember, again, going back to that period, The Hobbit was huge. We were all reading the Hobbit trilogy with J.R.R. Tolkien. And man, they grabbed, and so Jimmy Page was like playing the Wizard World. They were singing about Golem, Immigrant Song, the Lands of Mordor. It was in their music, and all this mystical, magical stuff was all part of that Led Zeppelin realm back then. So, of course, this backmasking and the evil one all fit in. It was a perfect recipe for a story, an album, and we all ate it up.
I just think that all the music at that time was being really experimental and trippy. And it's like, even like things like, the first Hendrix record, and you have like Third Stone from the Sun, and you have voices that are lower and pitched and stuff, and it's freaky. And it's like, I think that that's what it is that like bands were doing certain types of drugs, delving into different types of
psychedelic music
and things like that. I mean, Hendrix was a huge UFO fan, space and extra. He was into extraterrestrial information and stuff like that. So you have a lot of this like kind of reaching outside of the love song, like let's go farther, and how much farther can we actually go and be experimental? And that's what these bands are doing. So there's definitely like there's something going on in the music that made it timeless and great. I mean, like really, like I kind of think like that time period of the late 60s and early 70s and forward, kind of set the tone for what came after, obviously. But
definitely.
What was great about those records is that it wasn't the usual. Even Hotel California, there's just something about the classicness of of those records, the craftsmanship of the record, the way the albums look, the sounds of the records, the lyrics that's going on, and just the overall vibe is something that that's kind of deeper than just the average pop song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's I kind of think what makes these albums timeless and interesting. Like
I agree.
To listen to, like it's not like you're going to listen to Chuck Berry. Like I love Chuck Berry and I love 50s.
I love Chuck Berry.
But I love all that stuff. But it's like there's no mysticism in it. There's nothing deeper than just I love you, you love me. But I mean, but it goes back to blues, and if you want to go back into the blues, there's a lot of things about the other side of the tracks, and things of a darker nature.
Yeah. Chuck Berry was really a defining artist for me as a little kid. This was back in the day when you had a little tiny transistor radio that fit in your shirt pocket with one earplug, and it'd be hard to dial in at one station good, but you could get Keno, the rock station in Vegas, And my father was a diehard country fan, all the way, and he was bound and determined to get me and my younger brother to be country fans. And I will say there's a lot of country I really, really like. And I went through a country phase, I'm going to say late 80s, early 90s, when everybody working for me listened to country music all day long on the radio on the construction site. And it got to the point where there for a while, me and my wife and kids were listening to nothing but country music and going to all the country concerts. And I saw Alabama 3 times,
But isn't it just on the level that the rebel country stuff is cooler than the Grand Old Opry stuff?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I really like country.
Stuff, but Hank Williams Sr. Got kicked out of Grand Ole Opry.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, that's a whole other show.
But it's still on the delving into a little bit this and a little bit that. You're talking about backmasking and
I was a kid and I had my little transistor radio and I heard Chuck Berry came on and started singing that song, Riding Along in My Automobile, Baby Beside Me at the Wheel. And I just lost my mind. I mean, that was like a defining moment for me where I was 100% into rock and roll,
Yeah.
Oh, he inspired a lot of people. Well, in modern day, or at least when you get up to the aughts, as we call them, 2000s, one of the guys that's known for creating some mystery in lyrics is York from Radiohead. Apparently, he likes to release an album, and the lyrics that he sings may vary from what's printed. And so the thought is that either lyrics will be completely missing printed here, but he doesn't sing them there, or vice versa. And that gives you a clue of what the song is about. So that's one of his little things. I thought that was pretty creative to do something like that. I understand House of Cards off In Rainbows might have something like that going on. So that's at least a way that some of the modern bands are taking it to the next level to keep some of that mystery going, you know, to do something. And that's a very creative band.
I was watching a country awards show, and 3 or 4 years in a row it was Brad Paisley and Carrie Underwood that were like the hosts of the show, you know. And I like them both. And Brad Paisley's a great guitar player, you know, an awesome guitar player. But anyway, so I'm watching one of them, the third or fourth one they did as the host, and they were doing Hank Williams Jr. songs, you know. They were doing kind of a medley of them. And all of a sudden, out came, and you know, this really kind of blew my mind. Out came Hank Williams Jr.'s booming voice, and it just, I mean, it really just crushed their voices. I mean, it just was so powerful. And the curtains spread apart, and he came walking out singing, and it was the best part of that whole show when Hank Jr. came out singing. You know, he kind of took over the song they were singing of his, you know. And his voice was just so powerful and dominant. It was just like, wow, that's my style of country right there, you know. And I do like a lot of the newer country too, but the old stuff, you know, when I start listening to, you know, Waylon Jennings and even like Willie Nelson, and you know, they've got so many, the Highwaymen, the group The Highwaymen with
that was good.
Oh my God,
Johnny
they had
Cash.
so many great songs. So many great songs, yeah. And I still really like that kind of country, but I like a lot of the newer country too. You know, Brad Paisley's good. There's another guitar player that I really admire. Let's see. I'm trying to think of his name. I can see his face. I can see his wife's face. You know? He married the gal that used to be married to Tom Cruise.
God, he was on the American Idol, The Voice or whatever. That guy.
Yeah, one of those. Right.
Yeah, that's his name. Pretty boy.
He even had a series of guitars that were out for a while, being sold on TV real cheap.
Right.
What is his name? Like I said, he married Nicole Kidman.
He's an English guy. Yeah,
he married Nicole Kidman.
I know. I see him. I can see him.
Yeah, I can see him.
Blonde
too.
hair.
And he's a fantastic guitar player.
Yeah, somewhat underrated on there. Well, you know, one of the things I think, you know, back to somewhat on topic, you know, one of the guys at the very end of his life that I felt did one of the best exits of all time in a mysterious way, using his album on his exit to give several clues about his life, was David Bowie. David Bowie's exit. Keith Urban, that's who it is. Yeah.
Keith Urban, thank you. Who said that?
I did.
Scott. Okay, thank you.
David Bowie at the end of his life knows he's dying, has an album that comes out just days after he dies. The video that he releases, if you've ever watched that again, Black Star, those videos that lead up to his death all have clues in the videos. For example, in one video, he looks under his bed while he's obviously dying in bed, and there's women's shoes under the bed, which are clearly his. There's so many visual effects that you'll see. And his whole album, if you know that, and you listen to Black Star, it's from beginning to end, knowing that he's dying. And he's basically talking about everything. The main song, I had no money, I was broke, I wrote this song, I made it to this. It tells the whole story, and it's really cool. It's kind of a hidden right in front of you type of approach. Probably one of the greatest exits of all time in a mysterious way. His videos are fantastic.
It's an amazing record. I love that record, Black Star. When it came out, I played it to death. That's my favorite album of 2016. But I kind of put that up there along with the Johnny Cash last record.
Good call. Yeah, same.
It's kind of like the same thing.
Dirt. Yep. But he did Dirt.
Yeah.
Well, we got another friend just joined us in the chat, Psychos Platters, and he's had a show going for about 9 years now, and I pop in and rap with him sometimes, and he's very knowledgeable. So anyway, he's in the chat right now, and of course, Mr. Brother Bizarro last week, he was in the chat earlier. He was a lot of fun last week, wasn't he? Pretty knowledgeable. Yeah.
I was chatting with some of your friends afterwards. They get a hold of me. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, there's been a couple of my friends with shows that have asked, do you mind if we bring Lou on? And I'm like, no, of course. You can come too.
Are you podcast blocking me?
No. I want to promote you, man. I'm going to add another guy right now. Psycho. Hey, Psycho. What's up?
He looks as comfy as me. Hello.
Hey, any backmasking stories you got to tell?
Okay, so I'm sorry I'm a little late to the party. I had to go deal with some things. So I think all of us here maybe have at least encountered, whether it be a TV program, hey, your youth pastor went off and they're like, hey, this is 80s we're talking. There, people, is backward messages in the records that will send you to hell. And so they would play examples, and I'd be sitting here and I'm going, it didn't give that effect. I'm going, oh, holy shit. I have a notepad going, oh, I have to listen to this, have to listen to this, have to listen to this. That's all it did. I'm like going, interesting. So it didn't keep me away from it. It was like, here's more to the never-ending want list of listening.
I just watched, I watched a video the other day where this Christian show was playing Stairway to Heaven in reverse. And
no.
Of course, they got a whole audience out there. And before they would play it, he would tell them what he heard. And he would, so now it's in their mind.
Right.
Then he plays it. Then they hear it. Everybody raise their hand. Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah.
Everything.
I said the same thing earlier. Yeah.
Yep. Did you guys bring up earlier?
You for money.
Black Oak, Arkansas, off of the Raunch and Roll album. Did you bring that example up about the electricity to come to Arkansas? Yeah, and you're hearing Jim Dandy forward saying "Nodus, Nodus, Nodus." He says it 3 times in the tape, and something else, and you go spin that backwards, and it goes off, and it says Satan, Satan, Satan. Da, 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 da. You can actually hear that plain as day, but I'm like, to me, that's coinky dink. That's all there is to it. There's a Styx song like that too. I think it's Snowblind. That's the one that Styx was going, we don't know what the hell you're talking about. We didn't mess with these tapes. It just happened that way. And I tend to believe that.
Anyone that thinks Styx is satanic is fucking crazy.
No, it's Chicago. If you remember the Little Nicky movie, where they're playing Chicago backwards, and I jokingly in the thing said, I knew it. I knew those guys were all along. And the people around me were laughing their backs off.
Next, you're going to be spinning Pablo Cruz records backwards.
Why not?
Sure.
You listen to anything that's recorded long enough, you're going to hear something. It just some words sound like words backwards.
Sure.
Whether you intend it or not.
Absolutely.
None of our soul brothers got into this stuff, did they? I mean, we don't have any soul guys messing around with backmasking.
I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, do we have somebody? Did anybody jump on board?
I don't remember
later.
Yeah, I don't remember the OJs do anything like that.
No, but Weird Al Yankovic was in it.
Oh yeah, I believe that. I believe that. Making fun of it, right?
Wait a minute, didn't they have Soul Train? That's kind of
yeah, remember that.
Frank Zappa, hot poop.
I remember Frank Zappa.
Zappa.
He was in your face. Yeah, he was in your face. That didn't count. Yeah, like Fleetwood Mac didn't have to do it, right? Anything off the Rumors albums, Satan backwards or anything?
I don't know. Well, listen to this. Listen to this line off the Frank Zappa song. Better look around you before you say you don't care. Shut your fucking mouth about the length of my hair. How would you survive if you were alive? Shitty little person. This was done by
Zappa.
Oh my God!
Gotta love that guy. Don't you eat the yellow snow? Yeah, it was Zappa.
I mean, there's a bunch.
He was ahead of his time.
Crazy stuff. Huh?
He was ahead of his time, actually. I mean, if you think about it.
The Ruddles, Piggy in the Middle.
How about Sean on
the Ruddles?
Stevie Y. Wookum. Stevie Y. Wookum.
What? No murder, Sean Cassidy?
Stevie Y.
I think I love you.
There is a God. The universe is not without a creator, sustainer, protector. He is the ocean of bliss. That goes on the entire track, apparently. Wow. That's crazy. Soundgarden 665.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that one.
They owe you one.
So we got some grunge in there. We got some grunge guys that jumped on board.
Yeah, but it's nothing serious, you know. It's kind of a Christmas song, actually. It's weird.
Well,
it's got Nature to Hell has Satan Eats Cheese Whiz at around 340. God. Who dreams this shit up?
That's kind of awesome. That's kind of awesome.
No, I know.
Satan Eats Cheese Whiz. There was a bong in the mixer room when they came up with that one. That's all I know. That says it right off the bat. Well, guys, I'm gonna have to excuse myself. It's 11 o'clock, almost on the East Coast here, which is where I'm still at the moment. I'm heading west. I'll be back on the clock here soon. So I'll see you guys nearby shortly.
Hey,
thank you everybody for. All right, peace out, everybody. I'm gonna go listen to some Satan music. Spinning on back. All right, guys. Ciao. Bye, all chatters.
Okay.
I gotta figure out how I
all right, Lewis. Thanks a lot, man.
As always a pleasure. Nice meeting everybody.
Same here. Great show.
Oh, LouMarsBooks.com. Check out my book.
LouMarsBooks.com. Yeah.
That's the latest spot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, you know, Lou's a multi-instrumentalist. He plays guitar and stuff too, but his big thing, I guess, was the drums. And there was a reality show called Drum Your Way to Hollywood, and he won that, you know. And then there was a couple of other competitions where it was like they were trying to set a record how many days straight you could drum. And it was something like 5 days and 4 nights he drummed. And he was part of the small group that set the world record. And then they went to do it again. He broke his wrist on the second day and played for the next 3 days with a broken wrist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But I've known him. We've been on, you know, Instagram together and Facebook together, and we've liked each other's posts and stuff. But we hadn't really chatted that much. But I've been following the things that he's done. And all those things I've been mentioning and some other things. And he's been in a lot of bands and stuff. But anyway, so when I finally said to him, hey, would you like to come on my show? You know, he goes, fuck yeah. You know, I mean, he's got a book coming out and different things, you know, and he's got other stuff too. But yeah, he's fun. He's been on 3 times now. In fact, the last 3 weeks in a row, and got to know him pretty well through all of that. And I think I actually almost met him once in Morro Bay. I was friends with him on Facebook and Instagram, and I was in the grocery store in Morro Bay, and I looked over, and that was him. There's no two ways about it. But right now he's doing one of these van life things. He took off in his van from California here in Morro Bay, and you know, last week when he was on the show, he was in Florida. A couple of days earlier, he was in New Orleans. The first time he was on the show, a week earlier, he was in San Diego. So, I mean, he made good time getting back there. But anyway, it's been fun. And, well, all of you guys. Now Psychos, you've had a show for a long time, haven't you?
11 years.
And when do you typically come on? I'll see it in a notification, and I'll try to jump on and watch and go in the chat and stuff.
Due to the way my life has been currently, along with health issues I'm attempting to deal with, I don't have a set schedule, which is sad.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. Yeah.
I would like to be more consistent in the week.
Yeah.
The way with work, and well, like I said, I've got bunches of doc appointments coming up in the next few weeks, and so like this little appearance here, I'm grateful. Thank you very much for having me on. And
you're welcome. Yeah,
I try to come when I can.
Well, you know, I started on I guess it was Friday night, And then one of the guys that was I had some guys for about 5 or 6 months that hosted with me, and Michael McVeigh, who I always like to give a shout out. They're putting he was in a band called Tame Fury. They'd opened for a lot of people, and then COVID hit and everything just went away. Now he's in a new band called Blackbird Rain, and I think they just finished their 8th song. I don't know how many more they're going to do before they release the album. But yeah, and he said, "Hey, Royce," he goes, we're just doing too much rehearsing on Friday night." I go, "Well, what night would be better?" And he goes, "Well, Saturday." I go, "Oh, okay." So I moved to Saturday night, and then COVID's starting to loosen up. It was starting to loosen up, and I really believe that people were going back to what they like to do on Friday and Saturday night, whether it meet friends for dinner and drink or whatever, listen to music and stuff like that. It's like, it's hard to sit and watch a few hour podcast, and I think they tend to get a little long, a little longer than some of them should. I know some of mine have gone 3 hours, 2.5 hours, and if you go to your analytics and look at the view time, it's like average view time 25 or 30 minutes. It's like, well, why am I on for 2.5 hours? And I mean, view time's important. View time, watch hours, all that stuff's important if you're building a channel. Right. But anyway, it's been fun, and I'm not complaining. And it's not all about, I mean, at my age, if I ever was to monetize, probably be for about the last 18 months of my life. $2 a commercial or something. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you've got a good group of people that you're discussing, I mean, time goes like that. I mean, usually in my head, I go for 90 minutes to 2 hours. I've had 3.5 hour streams, and it did not feel like 3.5 hours. I'm like, holy crap.
It doesn't. When you're on and you're having fun, and that people want to keep talking and you're enjoying it, I mean, you just keep going. It's hard to say, okay, guys, I'm done. I'll see you all later. Thank you very much. And it's fun to sit here and chat. And I mean, Scott's got some good musical projects. Scott Harris up here. Hey, Scott, why don't you tell Psycho a little bit about what you've been doing?
Yes, please.
So I'm a drummer, but I also play keyboards and produce and stuff like that. So right now I have this thing called Horror House, which is an electronic project. It's kind of dark wave, I guess you would say, if you know that type of music, kind of centered around horror theme. And I just been working on that. It's kind of like not necessarily a pandemic thing, but I started doing it in 2019 and came out with my first release in July of 2020. And I just kind of been doing that pretty much musically. So I'm on my 3rd release now. It just came out on Valentine's Day about a month ago, and it's getting some good exposure online. I have people like Dave Catching, who has Rancho de la Luna Studios, and has a show on this channel called GimmeMetal.com. He's been playing my stuff along with my friend another guy, Dean Rispler, who's like pretty well known in New York City. He's played with a lot of different bands. He also has a show. So on Thursdays, Dave Catching has a show, Dean Rispler has a show, and Dave Mustaine has a show, all within between 1 o'clock and 7 p.m. So Dave Catching's show is 1 p.m. to 3, and then Dave Mustaine's is 3 to 5, and then Dean's is 5 to 7. So I've been getting some spins in the metal community, even though my music's not necessarily metal, but it seems like it's getting a little bit of a crossover thing happening. I've been doing that, and just kind of I also Twitch DJ. I do that too. So I'm on Twitch, Horror House _official. That's pretty much where I am, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Twitch. Also on Facebook, but I don't really have a huge following on Facebook. It's definitely more an IG thing. Definitely have more stuff happening there. So I've been doing that creatively now. It's been doing really well. I'm thinking about starting to doing some maybe some live shows soon. But I'm one person, so it's not like I have a band, you know, so I have to figure out how I'm actually going to do that. But there are, you know, one people acts that are doing this kind of thing, you know, electronic music and just going out there, maybe doing some live vocals with some like keyboard layerings and like playing to a backing track. So I might start doing that, you know, in the fall time. And I'm just, you know, like I came out with my third release called Excommunication. I basically do these like short horror stories put to music with a vocal narrative. There's singing there. There's like, you know, spoken word kind of things happening, sampling happening, totally electronic, playing keyboards over it, but doing a lot of drum programming.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so I'm doing that. And you know, I have some covers I'm starting to work with some vocalists with, doing some collaborations. And then I'm also doing an all ambient record too, which I'm working on right now. So it'll be under Horror House moniker, but it's all keyboard music, sort of like it's you know, everything I'm doing is kind of like thematic, so there's definitely like a story behind it, but there's no real vocals happening with this new ambient record. But basically it's going to be it's a very kind of spooky and weird, soundtracky, instrumental with no drums though, no beats going on, just straight up ambient music. And I have, you know, titles that I'm working on with it, and I have a theme for it. So it's basically, you know, it's going to be something that you could like go to sleep to. It's something that you could meditate to. It's something that you could just like put on over a silent movie that you'd be watching as a soundtrack, something like that.
Yeah, you know, that would be really cool. Yeah,
yeah, very soundtrack.
We need to mix that with some of the movies Dan shows. You know?
Yeah, I mean that would be cool. Yeah. So the theme of the ambient record is I had sleep paralysis in my 20s and my late teens. So it's about that. It's about that sort of like that feel. I don't know if anyone has ever.
I've had it.
Sleep. Yeah. So it's like that kind of thing where you're kind of awake, but you're not really awake, and then you feel something kind of pulling at you, and you kind of go into sleep, and you're kind of going in and out of it. I used to get it really like when I'd be waking up. Like I'd wake up, and then I felt like that. I felt like something was pulling at me. And a lot of people say, you know, it's like people have these like weird hallucinations with it, and you know, because you're kind of in and out of sleep and stuff like that. So it's kind of built around that spirit realm sort of thing. So
cool.
kind of a dark kind of thing about it, you know, definitely like the horror, you know, edge of sleep paralysis I'm kind of delving into. But it's definitely like a ambient thing. So yeah, so I'm going to be doing that, and then like I said, maybe performing some stuff later on in later year and see how it goes. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. I mean, I can definitely relate to the sleep stuff.
I still play drums, you know. I'm like in drumming shape. I'm not really looking to play with anybody now. I played on a record by this person that I'm friendly with upstate, who actually flew me out to Rancho de la Luna, which is Dave Catching's studio, with Alan Johannes. He produced it, and so he was in this band called 11. He grew up with the Red Hot Chili Peppers in LA back in the day. He actually, the original Red Hot Chili Peppers, before it ended up being Red Hot Chili Peppers, was a band that he had with, you know, 2 or 3. It was Hillel and Jack Irons and those guys and stuff. He played with them. You know, he knew them in high school before they met Flea. And it's a long story with him, but he's pretty legendary in the scene. And he produced Chris Cornell's Euphoria Morning record. I don't know if you're familiar with that record. It's a genius record. He's pretty much a musical genius. So it's interesting to be able to nice. You know, I have his cell number, you know, I can call him when I need to. It's kind of a nice connection to have or whatever. And it's been cool. So, you know, even though like I'm not like actively like playing with bands, I'm not really looking to do that. I'm kind of like looking to just create music on my own. It's just easier not having to deal with anybody. No offense, but I do like to do collaborations with people. So like I said, I'm going to probably be doing some of that, but like not really looking to go out and like play in a band and start touring or like trying to like actually do that. Like I did that already, and I'm like kind of over it, you know, like lugging a drum set somewhere and, you know, like going on a tour. It's not really attractive to me in this, like at where I am in my age, you know, I'm 54. And I don't know, just not into it like that anymore. I still love playing drums. It's great, you know, and like I said, I'm in playing shape. I could probably hop on a tour if I wanted to, but I'm not looking to do that with my life right now. So that's what I'm doing musically pretty much. And like I said, you can find me online. Yeah.
You know, another guy you need to know, Psycho, is Dan right here. He's usually just the facts, but he's the 360 man, because I know you're starting to do a bunch of 360 videos you're working on.
Yeah.
But we usually think of him as JTF, just the facts. And you've been making videos for how many years? I mean, he filmed the original film that you'll see all the time about the space shuttle blowing up. That was Dan's film, you know, and so many other things. I mean, some of that, so you've got stuff with like a couple of million views, right?
Yeah, my Elvis video that I shot.
I love that video. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's fun. I've seen it about 3-4 times now. We played it on Rachel's show. You know Rachel's music ma'am, right, Psycho?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, but we've been on her. In fact, Dan and I have both been on a show at the same time before. In the chat, just jiving with everybody. Dan showed his Elvis video, and but Dan's made a lot of videos, and he's a great guy, and he's got a history of managing one band, being super tight buddies with Pantera's, Dimebag Darrell, and he was like best friends with those guys. Went to all the concerts and hung out with them. And sadly, they both passed. And anyway, but Dan knows a lot about music. And been to a lot of concerts and knows a lot of bands.
Well, I'm trying to forge a new path now. I mean, I've been with music for all these years in different levels, and now that I'm 65 years old, I don't have the strength to do what I used to do. So that's why I decided to bring. I got a video production degree back in 1980, so I know how to shoot films and all that. I just never could make a whole lot of money at it. Now that I'm retired, I got the time to invest in equipment, and I've got some good equipment now. And I was out testing some last night, some of the 360 cameras, and a week ago I went out and shot a 360 video of a live band in a real good venue. I had to come up with a solution for the audio. The video looks great, but the audio, these little things just don't have good microphones in them. So I've got a Tascam that I'm going to be using, put that on a pole in one part of the theater, then I'll record with my 360 somewhere else, and I'll just have to sync the audio up with the video later in post-production. But, it took me a while to get used to this editing of this 360. It's totally different thinking. And I think I've got it down now. And now I think now that I've got that learned, what I want to do live bands, 360, and I also want to do interviews, but I want the interviews to be in 3D. So I'm that close to getting this 3D camera now. And, the thing is, these Oculus headsets, that everybody's starting to wear, they're getting more and more popular. And now's the time to get in and get your content in there. So when people do start buying it, your content's there. So I'm going to start interviewing bands in 3D, recording 360 concerts.
That's cool.
And see where it leads.
That's awesome.
That all sounds very cool, Dan.
Yeah.
I never, I bought a 360 camera back in 2017 when I went to the Total Solar Eclipse, and I wanted to get it in 360. But back then the technology wasn't quite there, and the software wasn't either. And everything's kind of blurred. Not now. This stuff is crystal clear, and you can manipulate it in the editing process that you can't believe. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like last night, I was walking around through Grandscape, this big entertainment complex out here, and I just had my camera on top of a selfie stick, about a 4-foot selfie stick. I just had it on my shoulder, like I'm carrying a rifle, and I'm just walking. That camera sees everything. You see me walking, but you don't see the stick. The stick is invisible, so it looks like a drone is flying over me.
Right.
And on the phone, you can sit there and you can move the picture around. You can look all 360 degrees while I'm walking and see exactly what's going on. But like I said, the weakest thing is the audio. I got to improve the audio, but a lot of that can be done during the editing process. And The thing about it too, the files are so large that you can't do 2-hour shows with them. You can only do 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minutes, and put it together and try to shrink the file size down without losing the quality of it. So I'm learning all that process, and it's totally different. It's totally different from the stuff I learned in 1980.
Right.
1980 was when you had film and you had a cut, and your scroll was a black board with white letters on it that you put a camera on. Totally different now. So I've had to keep up with all this new stuff, and
right.
I'm really liking it. But the thing is, I know what I'm doing now as far as the equipment is going to be obsolete in about 2 years. You got to buy. They'll improve it. You got to reinvest in more equipment, to stay on top of things.
Yeah. Well, it's like I was telling Dan when he told me he was getting into the 360. A friend of mine, he's got a channel called Kevin Loves Tacos, and he goes around to all the taco eateries, especially on Taco Tuesday. A lot of places are $1 a taco, $1.50 a taco, and he'll make a video promoting their business. And the next thing you know, he's getting free tacos all over town. Hey, come on down, make another video. We got some free tacos for you. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? But the first 3D video he did that I saw, or 360, I'm sorry, not 3D. He must have had it on his helmet or something, and he's riding his bike through a Tascadero on his way to a taco place, and it looked like there was a drone flying overhead, filming him as he was. You could see both his hands were busy. He wasn't controlling anything. Like, how in the hell is he doing that? And there was a bunch of other cool stuff there too. And come to find out, he had this 360-degree camera.
Last night when I was out, what I did, I bought this nice clamp. Everybody, has suction cups. They put their camera on their vehicle.
Okay.
But what if that suction cup fails?
Oh, yeah.
And I've got 5 cameras on my truck, and 3 of them. I don't leave on all the time, but I can put 3 cameras on top, and that does 3 cameras. It takes 1 camera to do the job of the 3 cameras I have on the roof. And what I did, I got this chain and tethered them off just in case something failed. It's still going to be connected to the truck. It's not going to come off.
Right.
But I found this nice clamp that goes on the front of my truck. Man, this thing is solid as a rock. I put my 4-foot selfie stick on there with my camera on it. Boy, the shots you can get, it's unbelievable. When you're in 360, I can sit there and I can look at everything anytime I want, anywhere,
Right.
And I can actually do it inside my truck. I got my phone up near my steering wheel. So that camera is talking to my phone, and I can sit there and do 360 while I'm driving, seeing exactly what I'm seeing outside, but I can see what the camera's seeing. So it's nice to have control inside. Plus I have a GPS that goes along with on my wrist. I tap the GPS, it records the speed of the vehicle and the track and everything else, and I can add that data onto the video. So when you play it back, you can see how fast I was going, what route I took, what the elevation was. Plus I can start and stop the camera from my wrist instead of having to get out and turn it off that way. So I got a remote on my wrist now. So a lot of cool stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Back on track here with the backmasking. Has that ran its course? Is anybody aware of anybody still putting these messages on albums you can only hear on reverse? Is that happening again?
On my second release that I did, the intro has backmasking.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Basically, it's like the idea is that I have my first album that I did, and the whole story is about this becomes possessed. So she's listening to actually have my first record on vinyl, and so I recorded it backmasking, going backwards, and then I put in backwards messages into it. But yeah, I did do that because
so you're going to be responsible when it takes off again, right?
Maybe.
It's so easy to do it nowadays too. I mean, with the technology, you record something, now it's reverse. Put it on there.
Yeah, it's easy. You just push a button and it reverses. That's it. Yep.
But I mean, where do you get to listen to it in reverse? That's the thing. I mean,
if you have vinyl,
what's that?
If you have vinyl, you can do it. But other than that, that's how it was. I mean, you're not going to spin a CD backwards, or whatever, or like MP3, unless you're going to put it into an editing program and listen to it backwards. If that's what your thing is, You're like, hey, I want to listen to this record backwards, you know, put it in GarageBand and just push a button and you can listen to the whole track backwards.
I don't think my player has a reverse though. You know.
What?
Yeah, that's the thing too. People used to force those turntables in reverse with the needle on it. That was the thing. Yeah, listen to it backwards and fuck up your turntable, you know, and your needle, you know.
Right. Right. Totally.
Did a lot of the old turntables used to have a reverse on them where you could just listen to it backwards?
No, you'd have to
totally
stop it and back scratch it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's like backcuing, you know. You'd have to backcue with it. You'd have to put your finger on the label and move it, you know, or.
Oh, I see.
You know, if you're like you, Dirty Royce, you put your fingers all over the
right. Yeah. I grip it with both hands. You know?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, when I was a kid, I actually had an album. When I was a kid, I had an album. I was curious because I understood how vinyl worked, but you know, just in theory, I'd never seen it before. You know exactly. So I got a pencil, put a pencil in there, spun the album, and I had a needle, just a like straight pin, and stick it up, and I could hear it. I could hear the sound. I go, that's how that works.
You're kidding me. Well, how many people used to use a pencil with an eraser to try to get their tape back in there?
Oh, everybody.
Oh, God. That's such a
cassettes or 8-tracks. You stick the rubber up there and you start twisting your pencil, trying to pull the tape back in and hope it stays this time. You know?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a big resurgence with cassettes now, and has been for a while. But the old
you know, I've been rounding up all my old CDs because I'm noticing more and more people on the shows are showing CDs too. You know, and I mean, and really, I mean, what can you listen to most? I mean, CDs. You know, I was standing there looking at I think it was at Target. They had a pretty big display of albums, and the albums were like, you know, $21, $24. A double album might be $34, $36. And right below them were the CDs. And I looked down there and there's Led Zeppelin Mothership for like 12 freaking bucks, you know? And I almost bought that for $100 I don't know, $29 or something like that at a record store. Right. And before I got a chance, well, I had plenty of chance. I just kept putting it off, and I walked in one day, it was gone. And it kind of freaked me out. And I wound up buying the 8-album Jimi Hendrix set with the velvet box, you know, that they don't make, haven't made since, you know, 22 years ago. Right. And so I grabbed that, still has a shrink wrap on it. It was like I think it was $175 or something. It's an 8-album set. But I was real happy to see that I could get that Mothership in a CD for like, you know, 12 bucks or something, you know. I'm going to grab that real quick. You guys got to,
Yeah, I bought recently. I bought one of the silver edition Sony CD/DVD players from like, I guess from probably, I don't know, like the late 90s. You know,
yeah,
at $15 on eBay. You know, with the remote. You know, and then I have it now hooked in through, you know, digital converter, and it sounds amazing.
It's almost like a gatefold, you know.
Yeah.
2 CD set.
Yep.
Anyway, I was really happy when I found it in a you know, in a something that I can take out in my car and listen to when I'm out running around all day, you know.
Sure.
Which you can't do that with albums. That's for damn sure. So I'm kind of
Royce, it's funny
excited when you see the albums. When you see the albums up there, and down below it, you see the CDs. And they're half price and less, you know. It just, I can see myself picking up a few more CDs for my car, you know.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And I haven't bought CDs in a year and a half. It's all been vinyl. Yeah, the weekly search for vinyl, going to all the antique stores and, you know, that kind of stuff, or just straight up used vinyl stores and stuff. But that's all I've been chasing for like a long time now is vinyl. But now I'm gonna try to balance it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, I don't always get the living room and the record player. You know? Several people in this house. Somebody's always got something on TV and stuff, and I'm like, okay, can I listen to some albums when this is done? Yeah, one.
I just do everything overhead. Since my kids were born, I just listen to everything over headset. Like that's all I do. You know, I put speakers hooked up to my system. they're older speakers and stuff. But yeah, I just totally went headset like when they were born, and my son's going to be 18 in April. So I'm like, I've been listening to that way, since then. And I have a headphone amp, and it's awesome. It's just everything. I have everything hooked in through the amp and through headset. So when I'm downstairs in the cave, like I'm talking now to you guys, I mean, I have everything hooked through there. My Blu-ray, I have a CD players, DVD, my vinyl cassette player, everything. It's like totally through headset.
Absolutely. Several years ago, one of our good friends' son was working at Best Buy. And his mother said, well, he can get you a good price on, stuff, So we went in there, and I bought a big screen TV for the first time. And I bought a big Yamaha amp, and it was a 7.2 surround sound. And when I bought that, I also bought a 400 disc carousel for CDs or DVDs. You really had to keep track of what was in what slot, There's a lot at 400. You don't want to be going through and looking at them all,
Yep.
So I mean, I had that thing loaded with movies and music, and that thing finally quit working. And when that thing quit working, I kind of quit listening to my stereo, really, Yeah. And then when I got my Audio-Technica LP 120, the USB type of thing, you're supposed to be able to record albums onto other media. But anyway, I got that, and I hooked it up, of course, to my surround sound, and I've got 5 clip speakers, 3 up high above where the stereo sits, then 2 on this hard to describe, but it's a floating kitchen drop ceiling. It looks like it's just sitting there floating, but I've got some hidden stuff that actually holds it up. I had to do something. I'm a carpenter, And so anyway, I've got that, and I've got 2 clip speakers hidden back there that you don't even see. And then down in one of the doors, I have this huge, subwoofer. And man, that just started to listen to my albums on that, about 6-8 months ago. And boy, I really enjoy doing that. That's surround sound. Just having 5, with the bass, 6 speakers around you, that the music coming through.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know you miss the low end when you're listening to it on a headset or whatever, for sure.
Right.
But at a certain point, I'm just like, I'll do without the bass. I mean, it's fine. I'm able to blast as long as I want to go, and I'm 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning hanging out, listening to it. I'm not bothering anybody, So it's just.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I should get some good headphones. What do you got to spend to get some good headphones? That something you would buy?
I mean, I use Dynamic 770s.
Okay.
You can get them for like $175 or $200.
Oh, wow.
They're German headphones, and they sound awesome. I mean, you don't have to go that crazy. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a headset. You can, but
yeah.
You need to. So I think you can find something that's within the the $175 to $250 range. Wow. And I mean, honestly, they're probably going to sound better than the speakers that you have, unless you're going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on custom speakers. And
I can understand that too. I mean, your ears are a captive audience to headphones. I mean, they really sound really quality sound coming out of headphones.
Absolutely. I would rather spend $1,000 on, on a top of the line Dynamic or something like that, or Sennheiser or whatever headset, versus buying new speakers. Like my ultimate speakers would be, I want to get realistic Mac 1s, from the 70s. They have 15s in them. They're like 275 or 275 watts or whatever. That's like kind of like what I would really like to be able to have hooked up with the sub. That would be,
right.
The dream sound. Like I'm not one of those guys that, like, I always say I'm like the ghetto file. Like, I'm not really somebody that wants to spend a lot of money on equipment, honestly. Like, I mean, like, I have a Marantz 2230, but it's hooked and it's from 73. I bought it in 1999 for $99.99. I've never had to service it. And it's like, I mean, I replaced the bulbs in it, myself, but it sounds amazing. And I mean, I have it hooked up to a headphone amp, a Rolls headphone amp that I bought for like $75, and you could buy, you know, a headphone amp for like, you know, $800, $1,000, whatever. Like, you know, I don't really think you need to do that. You know, like I have all that hooked through with my Bear 770s, which I bought for like $175, and it sounds amazing. I got, you know, I have a Technics 1200 turntable from the 90s. You know, they're really, you know, they're hard to get now, really expensive to get. But, you know, I had 2 of them when I was DJing vinyl. So, you know, basically I have that hooked up, you know, with a stand. I have I have a Stanton head shell, you know, and basically what's it called? I'm trying to remember the name of. I have an Ortofon headstock. It's a Ortofon 10. They're like $75, and it sounds great. I mean, like, I don't know, you could spend thousands and thousands of dollars on audio equipment.
Oh yeah,
you know, you could spend
well, you know,
$2,500 on a stylus. I mean, I just think that's
right.
I think
speaking of the old equipment, I remember when I was in high school, the older guys were coming back from Vietnam, and they had like all these bitchin' amplifiers, you know, maybe they were from Japan or whatever, and the speakers. Yeah. And I've never heard so many good sounding stereos in my life. And it was just a few short years ago, you walk into any like thrift store, you know, or Goodwill or something, there'd be 3 or 4 of those bitchin' old amps in there for like next to nothing, you know, that people just brought down and just gave it to them, you know. It's a little hard to find now.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, you know, like every once in a while you'll see something. Like I picked up a Nakamichi CR2 cassette player for $15 in a Tibetan center that's by my house. And when I saw it, I mean, normally you find it on eBay for about $250. I was like, there's no way this thing is $15. Is it like, does it work? Like I ran back to my house and I grabbed a bunch of cassettes and I went with the headset to test it. And was like played amazing. It's like I cleaned the heads or whatever. Wow. I didn't have to change any of the drivers or the belts or anything like that. Really good to go. I had an older cassette player that I was using for a while, but I didn't think it sounded good enough. It was like from the 70s, this Sansui, and it was okay. But I wasn't like in love with it. But Nakamichi is like, you know, kind of like one of the top of the line cassette players. Even if you get a bottom of the line Nakamichi, it's like better than anything else that was kind of going on at the time. So so I have cassettes now I can play, and the new cassettes that are coming out sound much better than the old cassettes. Like the old cassettes are like mass produced and kind of crappy. You know, there's a lot of dropouts would happen often with them or whatever. But like the newer cassettes for a lot of indie releases that are coming out are like all chrome level cassettes, and they all sound really good. So it's kind of like fun. I'm not a big collector of cassettes or whatever, but I wanted to be able to have the format, you know, available if I want to listen to stuff, because I have cassettes. I mean, like I'm sure like you guys have cassettes too. If you're into back in the 70s and the 80s, I have drawfuls and drawfuls of cassettes that like I need to transfer digitally someday. Like I need to listen through them, and you know, I would love to be.
I had a fair amount, but to be perfectly honest with you, I have no idea where my cassettes went. You know, I still have a lot of CDs, and I find some like every day. I had that Led Zeppelin 4-box set in a big cardboard box that shows the wheat fields with the Zeppelin stuff carved in it. You know. And it was 4 CDs with a great big beautiful booklet, you know, 30-page color booklet as big as the box. And the first thing I did when I got it is I threw it in my computer and burned copies to take out to my car so I could save the originals. I think I told the story before, but it was a few months ago when I found that box set. I had to find it, and one of the 4 CDs was missing. And I was really bummed about that because they were made, you know, there were special covers and stuff just for this box set. And, you know, and so I had 3 of them and one's missing. And so it was just like a week ago, I found some more. I was going through my big stereo cabinet. We've got a bunch of, you know, DVDs are stacked there, and, you know, VHS movies and different things. And I was pulling everything out looking for something else. I found like 4 CDs. And I opened the covers, and I can't remember what the cover said. It had nothing to do with Led Zeppelin. And there was my missing 4th disc. I was so damn excited because I had the cover in the box. I just didn't have the CD. And man, I tell you what, it was like Christmas came early finding that damn thing.
Yeah. I've had that happen before. You misplace CDs and it's in another cover, and you're like,
yeah, another cover, something that wasn't even something you listened to, you know.
Yep.
Right. But I know I've got a tape case around here somewhere full of CDs because I've still got the box for the Bob Dylan 4 CD set and a bunch of other stuff that I have the boxes for multiple, but I don't have any of those CDs, and I don't know what happened to the damn things. I've looked everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to turn up eventually.
Yep. And CDs though are coming back because a lot of stuff that's like from the 90s that like were on major labels, hip hop especially, is just out of print and not they're reprinting a lot of that stuff. So, and then if you're into like the original CDs, like the collectors, like for vinyl, you want original priority press of NWA's, straight out of Compton or whatever, Right. It was really expensive on eBay, and you can't find them on Amazon now. Like if you're going to go look for some, records like that, they're just not available. You'd have to go on Amazon. Like you won't be able to find like a new pressing of it. You have to go to like eBay and buy it used, or some other place that you have to find it used. So I definitely think it's going to be coming back. My daughter, who's 13, is big into CDs. She comes down here and raids my CD collection because she's like, all her friends are like, because it's a 90s retro thing, It's like, oh yeah, CDs, It's like,
I had 3 daughters that moved off, and when the twins moved to LA, they raided my CD collection, and then I remember one of my wife's friends came over one night. She goes, "You got anything I can listen to new? I'm tired of all the CDs in my car." And so we're just handing her whatever she wanted. I'll mail them right back. We never saw them again.
Right. Yeah.
And I kind of figured that would happen. I don't care, It's just CDs. So Psychos, man, what have you been doing? Did you have a show this week or?
No, what was it? Last week I shot a couple contest response videos. I'm hoping maybe to have a show up. I might do a stream Tuesday, hopefully. Tuesday seems to be my day I'm not so busy for, so I'll shoot a show there. I did end up picking up some interesting things over the last few days. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'll bring up more on the show, but like today I tripped on I never even heard of this, and it was just such a weird 45 package. And it was from the mid 70s, and it was a band out of Austin, and they're terming it folk psych. And I found 2 of these damn things, so I bought them dirt cheap. So I can't wait to spin this to see what it really is. I like unknown stuff. That I go for the small label unknown shit because it's like if it's cheap, I'm like, let's have the gamble. Let's do it. And sometimes it pays off for the ears. Sometimes it pays off for the wallet. I go for to me, if something's worth something, that's icing on the cake to me. Okay. It's the music base level. It's like, oh, never heard this before. This gets filed away in the eternal collection, you see. So yeah. Some hopefully some interesting little things coming up that direction. Also, I talked to somebody over the weekend. I'm not going to mention names yet. I could possibly have a sponsor coming up.
Nice.
I'll give you a hint. It involves what is powered each and every time. Not Waffle House. But what goes in this cup. We should
right on.
Cool.
That's great. That is great.
That's part of waking up is Psychos in your cup.
Damn straight. It helps that I'm crazy too.
There you go.
Hey guys, I think we're gonna close the show down now.
Okay.
We've been going for a little over 2 hours. And I want to thank everybody that's hung with us in the chat. Caitlin's like my main trooper here, you know, and she's got a nice show, Caitlin's Corner, and she put out a video this week, and she's always a lot of fun.
Nice.
She's got fun topics. Julia, thank you very much. Yeah, it's been you and Kate for a while now, and then Frank was in here, and well, we mentioned all the names earlier. There was quite a few people in here at one time, but Adam D and Gloria came by, and Linda Foster stopped in, and you know, all our friends, you know, all our friends came in. So anyway, thank you guys. I really appreciate y'all coming on.
Hey,
And,
before we sign off,
Okay,
I
go
want to
ahead.
try something. I
Okay,
want to
good.
try something. I got a new toy here.
Okay.
I want to see if it works. Just tell me if y'all can hear this, because just make sure I got everything hooked up right.
Okay.
Can you hear those sounds?
Yeah, I hear them. Yep.
Okay. What else I got here? I can also change my voice too.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that work?
Can you sing like the Chipmunks?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
How about a baby? Do I sound like a baby?
Okay, I want to hear Darth Vader next.
I haven't got everything loaded up yet. Okay, now I'm back to normal.
I really didn't expect you to be able to do that. That's great.
Coolest thing here. I'm always playing with gadgets and software. What else I got here?
And we say bye-bye.
And if you know this one, you know this one. Anybody know what that is? No, does anybody want to admit? It's a theme song for a porn site. Pornhub.
Pornhub.
Oh, yeah.
To me, this one always gets me. It reminds me of the movie, The Purge. Let me.
Sounds like a submarine under attack.
Oh no, I got your submarine. Where is that at?
Yeah.
This is the National Weather Service. If you're hearing this,
Tornado watch.
hold on to your ankles. You will be fucked. Thank you.
I love all
I'm not
this.
going to go there on that one.
Love all this.
Aye.
Now that I know that it works, that's cool.
Yeah, no, that is cool. Yeah. I got on a voice machine at Guitar Center one time, a long time ago in Hollywood. And I mean, you could just dial in any voice, you know, Darth Vader, the Chipmunks, and
I got the chip.
Yeah,
I've actually got the Chipmunks on here somewhere. Because I actually got a desktop version and I got my portable version. I got the portable version hooked up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you have an echo too.
Oh, is it still doing that?
Oh, it just started.
Okay, how about now?
It's gone. It's gone.
What's still doing it?
Oh, that's cool. Where is that something? Where'd you get that at?
It's called it's a software program called Voice Mod.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
that something you can download on your phone? That's part of Play Store or whatever.
No, it's actually a desktop app. You got to put it on your PC, and you can get the remote for your phone, so you can get the same program on your remote. You can just play it from your phone to my soundboard, back to the computer, and out to StreamYard.
Right. Cool. So much stuff out there now. Okay, I think I'm going to end the broadcast here, boys.
Good night, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll do this again soon, like next Sunday.
Right. Have a good night, guys.
All right, talk to you later.
See you, Psycho. Thanks for popping in. Bye, guys, in the chat. Appreciate
Thank you
y'all.
for letting me on.